Welcome back. Here's a trivia question. In the history of the North Atlantic Treaty Organization, or NATO, when is the only time the alliance invoked Article 5? Article 5 says an attack on one member nation is an attack against the entire alliance. The answer? One day after the 9/11 attacks. Despite decades of cooperation fueled by NATO, a report from NBC News finds that President Trump is considering something that's never been considered before, ending the United States' history of having a four-star general oversee NATO military operations. This prompted the Republican chairs of the House and Senate Armed Services Committees to put out a statement calling on the Trump administration not to make any strategic decisions like this unilaterally. I want to bring in senior national security correspondent Charlie Daggett, who joins us from the Pentagon. Charlie, the new leadership at the Pentagon has made it pretty clear they're reviewing everything top to bottom. Does it fit within that structure?
Yeah, Major, that's exactly what we've been told. Now, they won't officially confirm it. We've spoken to everybody, but the fact is these discussions are underway, and really it focuses to the COCOMs, the combatant command, and it's a restructuring. So they want to find different ways, first of all, to cut back the budget or to refocus the budget in this huge building, in this huge organization, but then also refocus exactly where that money is being spent and where troops are being sent as well. So there are about 85,000 U.S. forces throughout Europe in EUCOM, as we would call it, European Command. They would be responsible under that sort of SACEUR, the Supreme Allied Commander of Europe, as you said, traditionally held by an American four-star general, would be under that command. But we also have CENTCOM, at least 40,000 people around the Middle East area. So they're taking a close look at that. So in terms of when we ask those questions, you say, yes, of course, there is going to be a reshuffle. We're talking about a refocusing. NATO, in particular, as you just mentioned, has been in the firing line of President Trump, where, you know, even Trump won in his last administration. It's been called the Trump effect, where he has essentially pressured NATO members to pony up their amount of defense spending to between 2% and 3%. And some of those countries have fallen in line. In fact, many of those countries have fallen in line. Where this becomes critical mass is Ukraine. Because if you are going to be the U.S. general in charge of Europe, your number one priority at the moment and looking forward is going to be Ukraine. All the weaponry, all the aid, some of the strategy, some of the intelligence, all flows through that command.
And Charlie, would this, if it were to happen, essentially deprioritize U.S. attachment to NATO?
Well, Major, it's interesting because on one level, it could be seen as a symbolic position, but it's also a very serious position, right? The United States is the driver, the main driving force behind NATO. European partners are fully aware of having this sort of patriarch, as it were, to have the United States there. It's not only the amount of weapons and the amount of forces, but the sophistication of those weapons. So it really depends on the devil in the details, because if the current Supreme Allied Commander, Army General Chris Cavoli, he is supposed to end his tenure this summer. It's a 3-year term. That will really be the turning point. We're going to take a look at what's going to happen there. That will give us an indication as to whether these, again, preliminary, I can't stress that enough, these preliminary plans that they are discussing will be put into force, and what kind of impact that's going to have on the alliance across the board.
And the first Supreme Allied Commander, if I know my history correctly, Dwight David Eisenhower, Europeans have been comfortable with this. Are they eager to step into this role, Charlie?
Well, you know, first of all, it's going to be a little bit difficult because they're going to have to come up with that person, right? So the second in command, if you want to put it that way, has traditionally been a British officer. But we have Britain, we have France, we have Germany, we have Poland, we have several countries, especially now, with a lot on the line, and they have already been meeting sort of unilaterally, as it were, away from the United States, talking about how they are going to be more involved in the NATO alliance, in a European alliance, if they are going to put together some sort of force that would police any kind of ceasefire, if there is a ceasefire arranged in Ukraine. So those discussions are already taking place, but it will be interesting to see exactly how they leverage that and how comfortable they're going to be not having, in theory, a U.S. general in charge of that alliance.
Valuable reporting and perspective, as always. Charlie Daggett, thanks so much.